I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the purpose of this meeting is budget discussion and approval, and I will turn it over to John.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. And apparently I didn't speak loudly enough last night, and I apologize to all who couldn't hear me. Of course, that may have explained why the meeting went so quickly. Nobody could hear me and ask questions. So I apologize for that. And the microphone is closer. Looking at it from the big picture, we put together a budget which requires somewhat less than 2% increase in property taxes. However, it is reliant on a 29% plus increase in the sewer rates. And less people think there's much room to negotiate on that. It's dangerous not to bring those numbers up to the sewer department. We've got DEP, enforcement things, potential fines would come very quickly. And they are absolutely watching this with great interest. So, having said that, whatever the will of the board is, we could go through line by line, and we do have a summary that we can mark them down like we normally do. The dollar amount, who voted, who made the motion, who seconded, and also you will note that Kathy Honorado is here tonight too, as is Bernice, and between the three of us, I think we can pretty much answer all the questions or go into a filing cabinet and find the rest. And the last comment I make is that we're about a week behind where we normally would be, and so really have to make the final decision. The last piece that has not been discussed in depth is the capital portion. That's we've had discussions about it and how to clean up some of the balances and the unused balances in some reserve accounts. And I think the board is halfway there on completing the capital portion. So.
But I was just wondering, before we start taking each line, should we discuss the capital and to get some idea of what projects we do want to do?
Yep, absolutely. Bernice, you've got, I'm not sure I even brought that summary.
The front page that you have in front of you, I actually put it in your boxes last night. Yeah.
I have it.
Okay.
I can go grab mine.
You have yours? You want to look on Judy and I can?
I'll just go grab it. Okay.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Bernice, would you like to run through this?
Sure.
A bit?
As we have talked before, at the bottom of this budget report for the capital, 4.5% from Payson is the 518,808 down at the bottom of the page. The unexpended capital that we have sitting in our checking account from prior years that have been drawn from Payson is 157,007. I know there's been talk of perhaps using that to reduce taxes or to put back into capital this year. So that gives you the total of those two numbers together. On the far left side of this is what the department heads have requested in each of their departments for capital, other than the top three items, which, as we spoke before, the commercial pier debt, the backhoe debt need to stay there. And in order to keep taxes within a 2% increase, we would need to take $300,000 out of capital. So the column that's next to that, heading towards the left, is the 2020 manager's request. That's what John and myself actually sat down and talked with the department heads. Other than, I guess, rec, we still need to discuss with them what we felt was top priority. And of course, that's at the board's discretion. So at this point, if we were to take everything that's in the 2020 managers requested, we would need to borrow an additional 83,000, or take rather, an additional 83,286 from the reserve above and beyond the 4.5% that's recommended. So this is where you folks would need to make the decision of what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm looking at this paper here, the one you gave us last night.
Yes.
Not that one, but the other one last night.
Yes.
Taking the 518,000 and the
Correct.
157,000,
Correct.
taking out the pier debt, the backhoe,
Yes.
and $300,000 to put toward taxes.
Yep.
That leaves a balance of $313,000 roughly dollars for capital for this year.
Right, which is what we have done under the 2020 managers, except with what's proposed here, it would take an additional 83,286 out. Okay? So this is where it's at the board's discretion, and some of the department heads are here to perhaps elaborate. I know John has spoken with all of them as to what you folks feel is important to take out of the capital reserves. So the road and sidewalk construction, as you know, Ted has recommended $200,000 for the paving at Cushman Point Road. The police department is asking for a new cruiser and the setup of that cruiser and some communication materials. That's a decrease from what he had originally proposed. Originally it was $32,010.05, and then there were some other things that he's cut out. Public Works plow truck, he originally asked for $175 or $150. You know, John spoke with him, and it would be nice to have, but at this point we put it to the side. The rec center, Lisa will address that, or John, because we had thought that the roof was probably the most important, and apparently John has talked to Lisa, and that may or may not be the case.
Well, if I might just interrupt, I said to Lisa that the board would probably be willing to entertain a combination of expenditures that's less than $75,000. And we talked about where the roof leak was. Now, I'm a little paranoid about roofs because we've got leaks everywhere. And that's, you know, that my version was that the roof needs to be fixed. If it doesn't need to be fixed, I'm not uncomfortable with Lisa explaining her priorities. As long as it doesn't total more than $75,000, because the budget is very finely poised, and we have a kind of cascading effect that'll end up costing the taxpayers money, more in raised taxes, and that's why I'd like to. I think the board should insist to be less than $75,000. And going back to the plow truck, it is 25 years old. Parts are difficult to get, but Ted was not unreasonable about it and agreed to let it wait. I'm sure Mr. Blackman would be happy about that.
Anytime you cut out $175,000,
So those are my only other comments on the changes since Bernice and I spoke.
What about the fire and EMS radios repeaters? I know that's been a ongoing discussion.
It has been, and that is a request of a combination of our EMS director and our fire chief. There apparently are some safety issues that when they're in certain areas outlying, that they're not able to get their calls get back to the repeater, and there isn't cell phone service in some of the areas, so we may have EMS, particularly in areas that they don't have correspondence back. And then the municipal building floor rehab, as we know, we have put money aside in the municipal budget, but that was just for replacing floors. There was no mention of rehab when we were originally doing that. So this is the number that our town manager, John, has asked us to put in there to have monies to work with replacing and rehabbing the floors.
So I'm looking at, like, if we take out $200,000 for the roads and sidewalk, it basically leaves us about $114,000. If you add up 75,000, 35,000, 45,000, we're up to 155. So we don't have enough money to do all the projects unless one of them comes down.
At this point, we don't have enough what's in the 2020 managers without taking, you see down at the bottom, there's a shortfall of 83,286. That would mean that we'd have to take that much out of the reserves in addition to the 4.5% in order to maintain these capital requests.
But I'm not including the police cruiser.
Okay, so that's where we need to pull together the numbers that you folks want us to use to go forward.
I'm taking just the fact that I'm taking out the backhoe and the pier deck.
Mm-hmm. And the $300,000 for the house
That
reduction.
leaves us $313,000. If you take out the $200,000 for roads, we're about to $113,000.
Mhm.
But if we want to do the wrecked roof, fire EMS radio repeaters, and the municipal floor, we're short money. One of them would have to reduce their figure to be able to do those three projects. If we were to do it. Sorry?
The municipal floor, are we talking the whole building? Yeah, all the spaces, yes. So there's two components. One is the remediation, and the other is putting the floorings, replacing the flooring surfaces. And I haven't done the room by room visit yet, checking against estimates.
I mean, there are problems on this side.
Yes.
Yeah, floors with excessive dust, carpets aren't properly, I guess, glued or whatever, and there's some, we've been told, and that's why I have to go room by room and see it for myself, and I haven't done that yet. I'll probably do it starting in the next week after.
Kim?
Yes, do you know, Bernice, if we took the 83,286 in addition to the 4.5%, what does that increase the percentage to?
Increase the percentage of,
That we take from HMP?
I don't know.
Instead of
what that was.
4.5%, would
I
it
didn't
be,
figure that
does that
out.
make it like 5.5?
I didn't figure that out.
Yes, Bob?
But perhaps John has had some discussion about this. This $200,000 to pave Crispin Point Road, just what are we doing for paving for that kind of money?
I thought there was another road involved.
Yeah,
There was two roads.
Ted isn't here, but when I look at last year's paving number, this number is less than half. And, I couldn't name off the roads because I'm not.
Right, no, I understand. I just, I just wonder, is this a grind and repave?
Usually they'll, whatever works. I mean, the grind and repave and do your maybe 2-inch final coat.
And that's not the busiest road in town.
Well, yeah, but as you know, one of the key things people want from the municipalities are the roads. And sometimes it's the only thing they see that looks like the town is making the
Well,
effort.
understand, I'm not complaining about the figure. I think 200,000 for paving is probably reasonable. But I just wondered what kind of mileage we're getting out of that if we spend it down there.
Yeah, let me put it this way. There are plenty of ways of spending $200,000, and I'd be looking at, actually, I'll bring Ted in to talk specifically about how many miles on which road, and the board can make that final determination. But you're never, around here, you've never got your roads up to 100%. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Until,
I'm good with that. Like I said, I didn't have a question about the figure, but I just wanted to know what was going to get done for that.
yeah, I'll bring it back to the board specifically with Ted.
But one other question, the floor rehab, would it cost, obviously it costs something, but.
I'm hoping it won't. I will be going, like I said, room to room with my notepad and the notes that the different abatement people and the different flooring people have come up with, and make a determination that I will bring to the board. I sincerely hope that those numbers are more than adequate. In fact, I'll be doing everything I can to make sure we don't spend money going the wrong direction, and don't spend money on something that isn't going to last. I'm a great believer in longevity. If you do it, make sure it's going to last. Cut no corners, but maintain what you have. And that's the way I'd be approaching it. And I find it very hard to believe figures unless I've had more time, and I haven't put the time in yet. So that's the best answer I can give you, I'm afraid. But I won't be spending it just because it's there, let me tell you that.
Bernice?
To answer Kim's question, it'd be 5.22% instead of 4.5 that we were pulling out of case,
5.22.
instead of the 4.5.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, so we have, in the municipal building, we have $20,000, and I'm assuming that's for the floor?
Not all of it is, there are other things that will need to be done too, but that's part of it. There's $20,000 in this current year budget, and 10 of it's been spent on other things.
Okay.
So there's $10,000 in this year's budget that's unexpended unless there's something else that needs to be done between now and the end of June that could go towards the floors. And then I would say 10,000 probably out of the current year's budget out of that fund.
Kim?
I don't know about the rest of the board, but I would be fine with spending 5.22% instead of 4.5%. It's not even a whole percentage point more.
That would be giving everything that's on this list.
Under the 2020
police
manager.
cruiser.
Under the 2020 manager, yeah.
The new
Which
police
is-
cruiser, the floor, everything. Does anybody else have any thoughts on taking out the 5.5, 5.2 or 5.5%?
5.22. I just thought it was less than 1% more than what we were planning on, so it's not too low.
Bernice, did you have something?
Did we want to ask Lisa what she did want instead of the 75 or
If she could come down from the 75, that would be great.
Well, the other 4 items equal 73,000, so that would be great. That I was asking for.
Because when I looked at your capital, I was more in favor of doing the lockers than it was the roof. Because I know the rockers
mean,
are.
Bob is here to speak to the roof, but the roof that we discussed today can probably wait another year or 2. The HVAC evaluation is really quite important right now, because, do you want to speak to that? So, yeah.
I believe we've done a real good job at the community center of trying to take a project every year to reduce the energy footprint that we put out. Just for instance, when we started, our electrical consumption per year averaged 33,000 and a little bit more kilowatt hours a month. And I'm real happy to say that we've dropped that number down. Now it's running about 22,000 kilowatt hours a month. So we significantly dropped those numbers. And with the pool cover, we've been able to drop the amount of fuel. But there are a lot of technology advancements now in heating systems, and I think that with properly spent funds, that we can take a different look at how we've heated that building and hopefully reduce that energy footprint even more by utilizing efficiency main and the mini split heat for maybe the front of the building. And also figuring out somehow to partially use solar to help take away some of the heating load that we have in the pool. I believe that there are local agencies and local folks that could really help us out with taking a look at this and giving us some good data so that within the next 5 years, a boiler's life cycle is supposedly going to end at 20 years. We know that it goes a little bit further than that, but it's something that we need to be concerned with moving ahead. Similar to the roof, because the shingles are 20-year shingles on that building, and we are starting to notice leaks across the front span of the building. That's why we look at those things first. But as far as that study goes, we've got 20-year-old components and 20-year-old technology. We did update the control system, which has been great at saving energy overall for the building. But I really feel like there have been so many advancements in cooling and HVAC in general that it would be wise for us to spend that money. And perhaps with the help of Efficiency Maine and that study, we could quite possibly pay that and then reap the benefits of the savings for the building, so.
Do you feel that the roof could hold off a year or two?
With some sealing and maybe an examination through DH Panett or a roofing company to just come in and help with tracking some of the water leaks that we're having. Most of the water leaks are happening during the winter time when we have freezing and stuff like that, so.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Catherine?
Bob, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
I wasn't quick enough. The roof, is there any way you can kind of, I don't know, a section this year, this budget year, or this coming budget year, and just kind of have a 5-year plan or whatever? I don't know.
Piecemeal that out, it's certainly, I mean,
Well, I mean, that's what I do with my house. I can't
Yeah,
afford to have a whole
yeah,
friggin' roof
I
done, so I
um,
do it
Yeah,
in
with
stages.
We just had a part of the roof done, correct?
we did, all of the flat roofs have been replaced at the community center and that has made a world of
Are these the
difference.
peaks that we're talking about?
These are all the extensions from the main building. The front portion of the building, that's a sloped roof, which includes the senior center, the weight room, the offices. That's a sloped shingled roof on the front. And then on the side, over the out pool area, that's a sloped shingled roof. And then across the back of the building, the boiler room, gym storage, those are all sloped shingled roofs, with 20-year shingles.
Well, I'm going to expand on Catherine's question. Is there a way to do, I know, half and half?
Quarter.
I'm sure there is. I think there's a couple things that we need to look at when we tackle this project. I'm thinking about longevity, and we're only looking at 20 years for this portion of the building right now, and I want to be able to work with some companies to see if it would be better that we replace that roof with a metal roof and get a 40-year expectancy out of that rather than 20. But if we do just do portions, then I would say that we would probably want to continue with shingles. One saving portion of doing it all at once is to be able to purchase all of those shingles at once. To mobilization costs, they always cost to get a company to come in, bring the stuff in, do their work, and then leave. We would end up paying for that over the 3 different projects, however we did that. So, and of course the price of shingles right now is what it is, and it's not going down. It's definitely going up. So every year that we move that away, they're probably going to cost us a little bit more, which is why we looked at doing the whole roof all at once.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just wanted to say that if they can find efficiencies with heating the pool and heating the building, if they can use the money for those types of things this year and make the roof last, I think that would be a smarter choice, because that's going to bring down the monthly expenses of the building, not just for this year, but moving forward into the future. We spend a lot of money on oil and stuff all over the town, so if they could do something to lower heating costs, I think that would be very smart.
Ben, do you have any thoughts? No? Not at the moment? Okay.
Other than I would do the municipal building floor half the time. I take care of the fire department half first.
I have no problem doing the $200,000 for the road, the fire and EMS repeaters, and I agree half of the municipal floor. I'd like to stay within that 113,000. I really don't want to take any more than that out, than what we've got planned here. I don't want to extend it to $82,000.
I've never had any luck doing that. No,
Well, I'm saying
I
we've
agree.
got $113,000 to play with. Yes, Bernice?
I know that this end of the building has been promised for several years to get fixed. And it has been a concern for the employees here of the cleanliness and the floors that we are walking over and inhaling whatever might be in the building and on those floors.
Catherine?
I think we really need to think of the health of the people who keep this place running and us provided with all this material. And they spend a lot of time here, and John is very thrifty, and he's already said he doesn't think he will have to spend all of that, you know, he will be,
I don't want to.
he doesn't want to spend that much. And I don't know, I just feel that the air they breathe is worth thinking about, and some of the area in the fire department has asbestos, and there is some, I understand, that might possibly be in that hallway between the town manager's office and where we have our meetings. And that's something we almost by law or whatever, we have to take a look at. And
It has been
potentially fix
unaddressed
it.
for quite a while, and that's why we're faced with it.
Yeah.
And that's why I need to spend the time making sure that to spend this kind of money, gotta make sure that everything is going to last, and a maintenance program be put in place that will preserve it with the longevity.
So what does everybody think about the black roof for $75,000?
I think change that to what the department head has suggested. 73,000 for the things that they really need.
73,000, is that what you're saying, or 75?
If you were to take the other 4 projects that were submitted, they total 73,000, which would be the HVAC.
I feel like those things will bring us long-term savings.
As I said to John, our priority would be, in the number that we prioritize, would be the HVAC study, the locker replacement, and the Z-Track mower are the top 3.
Well, what is the planning and engineering? What is that 40,000 for?
That's 10,000.
10, is it 10? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's 10 for, that's the HVAC study.
What's
The
that?
40,000 is for that's the HVAC study, to study the cooling and heating so that we can try to make, you know, heat and cool the building more efficiently.
Yes, Catherine.
Question, Lisa, about planning and engineering for this HVAC, which I understand that, but it's just the planning and the engineering, it's not the actual installation of anything that's recommended, am I correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
So if I'm understanding you, you're willing to give up the $75,000 for the roof for the other 4 items?
But I think
Which
the
one?
other 4 items
78.
equal 78,000.
It does.
Right.
So, as I said, the top 3 we definitely need to look at our heating and cooling systems. We need to replace those lockers. They're becoming to the point where they're unsafe, and I'm concerned that somebody is gonna get hurt, and that creates a liability issue with us. The Z-Track mower has been on the list for a few years now, and right now we need a new engine for it. And the engine that currently takes it is not available because it has not been approved by EPA standards anymore. So that's,
I called again today
Yeah.
just to make sure. The engine that's on that Z-Track, it would cost more to replace the engine than it would adequately be to just look at purchasing a new mower. We've replaced the head and other engine parts in there, and I hunted high and low to try to find a replacement engine for that. They're just not made anymore, so.
How old is the mower?
12 years old.
Bob, did you have something?
Well, I was just gonna say, and I certainly would disagree with Bob on the mower, that's probably a pretty good lifespan out of that mower, but that digital sign seems like fluff. I think it's gonna be hard to put a spin on that it saves energy and, or makes it safer. And if you're gonna trim out stuff, that could be pretty easy to trim.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and for the rec, I would go, I could be convinced to the 10,000 for the planning and engineering, 40,000 for the lockers, and the 8,000 for the mower. I could do that. I'd be convinced for that this year.
That would be my top 3 priorities, 250.
And that's 58,000. Okay. What's the rest of the board think?
Sounds good.
Sounds good? Okay. We got rec taken care of. If that much taken care of.
Which brings it down to 66,286 more coming out of the reserve with the rest of them that are on here going.
That's including the police cruiser.
Right, with everything else that's on there, reducing the 75 down to 58, brings it down to 66,286 more that would be coming out of the reserves. That cuts 17,000.
I'm not willing to take the 82,000.
Okay, but I'm just saying that that brings it down to
To
that.
66.
I'm looking at the 113,000 left over. That's where I'm at.
We now need to cut 20,286.
You do what?
If you take out the 41,000, then we need to reduce another 25,000.
We've got 113, and we just took 58. So we have $55,000 left.
And then the police cruiser.
I thought it was 66,000. And we cut 17.
It was 66,286 instead of the 83,286. So we would need to cut an additional 66,286. So if you're taking out the cruiser and taking out $41,000 more, that brings it down to 25,286 more that would need to come out here to make a zero above and beyond the 4.5.
So
Percent.
could you parse that up, like split it maybe between, split that 25,000 between the municipal floor and the radios? Can you do that? I don't know if that's enough money, because you took 13,000 off the 45, do you still have enough to fix the floor?
Well, some of the figures I saw in remediation, but there's 2 parts, the 2 parts of the building, something like almost 22,000. That's one. Yeah.
That's just for the,
So
that's just for the rehab.
Yeah. So,
What does that leave you, just a slab with nothing on it?
well, it'll be pretty basic.
I mean, you're talking about a cost to remove what's there,
Yep.
period.
And any possible
Right,
hazardous type things.
but then it would
Then we got the floor.
Right, but then that amount of money would get you to the original cement floor with nothing on it,
Correct.
but no hazardous material left.
Hazardous material. And that's the big thing, if there are quantities of hazardous materials that require all sorts of covering up and blowers and this and that, that's a big deal, apart from the disruption. Because that means you just have to empty out part of the building, large parts of the building. And I know we talked about that, and they talked about putting one of the fire trucks out and putting everything into the firehouse. As a practical matter, that would work. But huge disruption, no idea how many days it would take. Big crew could move pretty quickly, but big crew with a lot of money going out all at once. So that's why I wanted to look at it section by section, problem by problem. So I don't know how far we get on 25. Once it's, well, not to be doom and gloom kind of thing, but once you start pulling older buildings apart, we might find something that isn't technically a hazardous material, but it'll be, there's dry rot, there's fungus, whatever.
Judy, would you be comfortable going $25,286 over the 4.5%.
I think you get that down to principle, whether you stay with, what has been recommended, or just fly off in some other direction. Frankly, for myself, I think that 4 is probably as important as anything on here. And it's unfortunate that we don't have solid numbers, but I understand the reasons why we don't, and I trust you to make sure that the job is done, in a timely manner and as reasonable as possible. But I think that funding is more important. And frankly, it seems to me that that's way more important than the radios, which we've lived without for years and years.
Well, that's what I was
and years.
just gonna ask, if there's a grant or something that they can get, the fire and EMS radio repeaters, is there any type of a grant?
There might possibly be. The fire chief actually been handling most of that, so I can't answer to that.
Yeah, I agree with Bob. I could go with the road construction and the 58,000 for the rec and the 45,000 for the municipal building for capital projects this year. I'm staying within the 4.5%, not taking any more out. Yes, sir.
How much would it cost if Public Works did the mowing at the Park and Rec Center?
Well, they shared the
Like if
mower.
they shared a mower, if they use their mower, and just go over and mow the Parks and Rec Center? Because we're thinking like big term of lowering costs, we could mow the school as well.
Well, I think they also have to do the fields, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go, they have to do the
lower-
fields
we
also.
do- We do the lower fields, we do the rec field, we do Sherman Park. And we do our own property around the rec center. And we do the backfield. And,
In the summertime, we do.
yeah, and the lower field at the high school.
I got a funny feeling if you tried to do that, I'm afraid you'd be fighting over mowers.
Well, and that's just giving more work to the highway department too. So
Yeah, well, I'm sure if it's a savings,
Yeah. Yeah.
three or four different places,
Yeah.
all
I
doing
mean,
the
we
same thing.
do share some equipment with them. I don't know if that's something that would be worth sharing, that we would be able to share with them. We could probably ask you to speak to that. Yeah, mower.
I'm willing to, I'm always willing to try to work together to save money. I mean, we had a discussion about a backpack for this week, and we didn't buy one because we figured we should. So-
Yeah.
Bob, did you have something?
I'm just gonna say, this gentleman brings up a good point. This town has a lot of lawnmowers and a lot of high-priced people riding around on them. But you're talking about a giant step that would take years to implement around here.
Start somewhere.
Yes.
Back onto the radios, John, did you check with over across the street and see, because part of the issue with radios is the switch from analog to digital that's gonna have to take place in the not too distant future. And our radios aren't compatible, so.
I was trying to get the 3 relevant department heads to agree on a time to go across, because Tom over there is willing to meet pretty much any time. So again, I'll try again to set up a time.
I was under the impression from the fire chief that that was gonna happen within the year, so that's why we put that in there.
Yeah.
But he's handled most of that, so.
And I was hoping to get the meeting, I was hoping it would be arranged by now, with schedules and so on. Didn't work out, but I'll give it a shot again tomorrow.
But in all reality, if we were to include the EMS and fire radios and repeaters, it would work out that we'd have $400,000 to put towards taxes instead of the $457,000.
Say that again?
Yeah.
Right now, you've got $157,000, and you're gonna take $300,000. That's $450,000.
No. That's already included in there.
What do you mean it's included?
Taking the 300,000 includes the 157 that we're putting back,
Okay.
if you add it together there.
Because it says here balance to use is 313,000 for capital,
Correct.
right?
Well, the second line is the unexpended capital. That's where she's added.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to include the radios, we'd have to decrease what we're putting in for helping with the taxes.
By $25,286.
Oh, we can go right back to the budget and take that and more out of it. Well,
No, I'm not arguing.
I thought you made a good suggestion the other night, that going forward, we talked about combining the dump and the highway department, and you suggested
Taking
putting a savings in this budget. Well, if we do that, it's probably gonna happen. If we don't do it, it probably never will. And John has taken and calculated a percentage raise for your sewer treatment plant because it appears that that's necessary. We haven't actually discussed it, but he's gone ahead and put that in there because it's necessary. Why can't we go like to the rec department and say, well, the fees are gonna go up this much, and calculate that savings in there and take the money off the top of the budget, and then it will happen. But if we don't, it will not happen. Next year, you'll be sitting here and it'll be, yeah, well, we might look at that. Just like it's been with the sewer treatment plant, year after year after year, when it's been brought up, it's like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. And now, it's a crisis.
Well, I agree, if we don't address the revenues of the rec and the ambulance, we're gonna pay for it next year.
Right, exactly.
No two ways about it.
And John has taken care, I think, of the potential overage in the sewage treatment plant just by proposing that in the budget. And because he's done that, it's probably gonna happen. But I mean, I'm not sure where you come up with the 30,000, it sounded reasonable, but, you know, if we was to take that 30,000 out, probably this would happen. And the savings would be realized within the next budget cycle.
I'm sorry, what 30,000 from where?
The 30,000 that he proposed taking out of the budget, which would be the savings in combining the,
Oh, from what line? Like 30,000?
well, wherever John decides to take it, makes no difference. Wherever he feels comfortable taking it out in order to achieve that.
So along that line,
Or it could come out of more than one.
yeah.
Both departments.
It would
Yeah,
have to come out-
wherever you think.
So
It would have to come out of transfer station and highway department.
I feel really strongly though that this won't, I don't want this to happen again. Like I sat here last year as part of the budget committee and this year as a selectman, and we didn't, this whole year passed by and we didn't talk about any of this stuff until it was budget time. Like I don't really even want to wait until the fall to start planning. I feel like as soon as we get our new selectmen on board in June, like we set a timeline for planning so we can address some of these issues before March. I don't want to do this again either. I like the idea of reducing costs and finding efficiencies. I think we do have a lot of lawnmowers, but off the top of my head, I don't know where they all are. I like more information, you know what I mean, like to chew on it and kind of understand and talk to all the people who ride around on them and see what makes the most sense. So, like, I don't want to let another year go by. I really am going to push us to plan because I'm only going to be a selectman for one more year and I want to do something. You know what I mean? I don't want to just sit here and like react to what comes at us on our agendas. We need to plan and
Well,
actually make some
these
stuff
are
happen.
things that we've talked about repeatedly, and it's not
Talk
happening.
is,
So,
you know.
we can probably make it happen if we put it in the budget.
I just worry that if we do something now, like combine two department heads in this budget, just sitting around this table, I haven't talked about it repeatedly. I've heard the idea kicked around, but I haven't seen any information or data. I haven't seen any job descriptions. Like I haven't done that legwork that I think to do it right, it would require, you know. I'm not totally opposed to it, but I don't know what the ramifications would be without even seeing job descriptions to start out with.
No, you make a good point about the board composition changing somewhat, and by the 1st of July. And in my own mind, I had been thinking in terms of the early fall to, in fact, discuss it with the board about the timing. Some members figured that it could happen immediately. I just figured I need a few months to clear the backlog, my learning curve, whatever you want to call it, and the budget. And once that's done, then I can systematically go with the rest. Now,
Systematically, I like that.
thank you. But the other thing is the revenue. We know we've got to do something about that. I hate to hit the unfortunate sewer department again. We can't, but that was overdue. We've got some revenue figures from elsewhere, and I got from Booth Bay Harbor. I have a list of every fee they charge in every department. Runs to 3-4 pages, and then the savings on. Anytime you've got a large amount of money being spent, it's always possible you manage overtime, you manage staffing. If you really want to get tough, you talk about a hiring freeze. You don't replace somebody until you've justified rehiring somebody. And I suppose it's remotely possible that the economy suddenly will boom and we'll get 6 nice employers in paying big bucks. But
It's also possible that the investment accounts won't continue to do
Correct.
really well
Correct.
year after year, which is why I was thinking, like, let's just spend 5.22%. Not that we're going there, I know we stepped away from that, but we had a really great year again, and that may not continue.
I think,
I'm sorry, John, what is your opinion of reducing the highway department and the transfer station 15,000 each in preparing for making one director?
well, it'd be a little harsh hitting the transfer station with 50% of it was 1/3, 2/3. I could, over the next few months, with the staffing analysis and such like, I could, sharing of equipment or reallocating certain responsibilities. Yeah, I could find some way.
Okay. So that would take these numbers down.
Yeah, and like I said, I would let John decide where it comes from. I've been through the figure,
But we would need some type of a number for tonight
we,
to be able to vote on it. That's the only thing, a percentage or.
I think 1/3, 2/3 would be
1/3,
fair
2/3.
based on the size of the budgets.
Yes.
Whatever you change the budget by, it's gonna change the revenues also. So, just to let you know.
I'm not sure I understand.
Because a percentage of the budget is paid by owner and a
Oh, okay.
percentage is paid by
Right.
Westport.
take it out.
So if you drop that number, it's gonna drop.
So you're suggesting take less out of yours?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
For line 122, the planner, I thought at least some of that could be taken out of the tip. Is that correct? Or it says the whole amount is?
Bernice has me numbers.
The whole amount still has to be budgeted in the general fund, but if you look at your revenues, we projected $14,000 from last year and the current year that were unexpended, that could be used to offset that. So it's a net effect of $14,700 to the town.
Okay, so by taking that 30,000 out of those two departments, that would give us the money for the repeaters.
No, I thought that would reduce taxes.
Oh, I thought that's what you wanted to do.
Doesn't make it.
Good, okay. Then I misunderstood what you wanted.
I thought it was your goal too, Bob.
Well, that's just one item. I mean, we can address several other items. We was looking for a cut, and John went through this and cut in 3 places, but there's 40 places to cut. It's just a matter of going back and deciding what you want to take out of it.
Well, are we ready to start voting on departments?
Thought we were.
Do I have a final answer for the capital then? Okay.
Do we have a final for the capital, or what are we gonna do with the capital?
If he takes the 30,000 from those two departments that we just referred to, I know this wasn't what you just said you intended, Bob, but we could pay for those radios and then have almost $5,000 to reduce taxes. The difference for the radios is 25,286, so if we could take 30,000, could you make it 30,286? Then we could say 25,000 for capital and reduce taxes by 5.
But we do have extra revenues that you haven't considered into this, is that correct? Am I saying we have anything coming in that we're not looking at here?
The extra revenue I've already calculated in to get to the 2.02% was at $300,000. We've added extra excise tax, and there were a few other things that I was able to pull extra revenue in.
Oh, I have a question. Did you get the reduced number from the superintendent?
Yes, it's literally $1 less than 6 million, which is
5,999,000, so that's
31
41,000.
31 cents.
Yeah, but that-
deal with the
That's
31
40,000 less than we were originally planning on?
No, because 12.5 has to be added back to that for no bid, so it's $28,000 less.
That's
So
still
basically
not
offset.
nothing, that's your radios.
It's basically the offset for the planner.
Where
But it's,
it's,
No
yeah,
matter what we do at this point in time, if we include the fire EMS radio repeaters, that's less money that's gonna go towards taxes. Correct? Am I correct in that assumption? Because we're gonna have to dip into the money that we were gonna be using to reduce taxes to compensate for that extra money.
You either need to take out the additional 25,826 from Payson, or you've asked the manager to cut out $25,000 or $30,000.
Which we just
out of
did.
The expenses.
Which we
So
just
those two would offset each other.
Okay. So at this point in time, we could go with the road and sidewalks. We could give the rec the 58,000, fire and EMS their repeaters, and the municipal building for 45,000.
And nothing at all for the police capital.
I don't know how we can't squeeze any more money out. Unless we don't put money down towards taxes. I mean, the revenue's just not there this year.
the only hope for revenue is, Dennis getting his crew stabilized. And I know that in the last 3-4 days, you had to pass up how many transports?
Pass up 4 calls.
Four calls, and that's what the revenue is. There's all sorts of strange calculations about ambulance trips, what gets a decent amount of money, but literally pays nothing. But if you can keep a crew on the road, that is revenue. We talked about at the rec center some rising fees. We've got the unfortunately, the sewer district has to get that increase. And we've got many other fees that have not been changed in years, and all those will be looked at. So on the revenue side, it's kind of nothing sure, but we're positioning ourselves to get more revenue from different sources. Grants, of course, always looking for grants. You get help from the Lincoln County Regional Planning Company. In fact, I was talking to Mary Ellen yesterday, I think it was. I forget what day of the week it is now. And when I was explaining a bit about the sewer district, she said, well, there's this, that, and the other, started naming off all sorts of programs. So it's now officially on her radar. Not that it wasn't, but she's more focused on it when I explained the dilemma. And not that anybody really wants to hear it, but there are ways of managing staff, functions, cooperation, and so on and so forth, that can reduce spending, and I have no problem reducing spending. The overtime is something I'm watching very carefully. And as you know, at the end of a fiscal year, there's always a rush to spend the last bit of whatever it is on a replacement that may not need to be replaced, or just some advanced spending. It may not be that critical, so I've been looking at that in the last 3 months of the year, and I haven't had time to have a department heads meeting, so I'll be having one, I think, probably Wednesday of next week, and I'll be running out the options that are available to me, and welcoming suggestions from any department to streamline something, make it more efficient, and make sure we don't duplicate, because it's a real problem when you've got people overlapping expensive equipment, lot of different personnel, all at different wage levels. I mean, it's important to look at all of that. Can't do it overnight, but certainly can send a message out. That's all I can offer.
So, back to the capital again. We keep going back to the capital. Are we in any type of agreement with those 1, 2, 3, 4 items?
I'll move the recommendations that you listed.
I'll second.
Okay. Recommendations, $200,000 for the road and sidewalk, $58,000 for Parks and Rec, fire and EMS radios repeaters, $35,400, municipal building floor rehab, $45,000, the pier debt of $40,463.04, and the backhoe debt of $22,236.84. The police is $41,000.
Excuse me, I have a different figure on that pier debt, just a few dollars, but what did you say that was?
Well, I think I'm going, well, okay, I guess I got the wrong number. The pier debt is $40,464.
Okay, that's what I had, yep.
And the backhoe is $22,237.
Yep.
I rounded it.
Right?
Yes, I rounded it because the tree was.
Okay, I was reading off of this one, that's okay. And if you want to include the cruiser, that means we have to take more money out of Payson. Are we including the cruiser or not? We're just going with those items.
Just so you know, both my cars have like 90,000 miles on them.
I know, and I wish I could.
No, that's fine, I just wanted to know.
So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that we're gonna have.
So what do you have for total for the police? If we go with the cruiser, it's the 41,000. If we don't, that reduces, you know, we say no on the cruiser and the cruiser setup, which is a total of $33,000. Communications, I believe, is, Chief, is that the radios because of the change in whatever?
No, we,
communications? I'm not sure.
That's for the MDTs, the computers and stuff inside the car.
Okay.
Right, Bernice? I know we cut.
No, you cut the
cut the-
radios out for that was for communications and some other things that you had. We cut out the radios for the cruiser.
Well, we have
No,
a motion on the floor
the in-car
without the
video.
cruiser, without the police. That's everything on this list except for the police department. And the rec being knocked down to 58,000.
Did you second on that?
Yes. Ben made the motion, Kim made the second. All those in favor of that expenditure? 5-0. You have your capital.
Excuse me, those will show up as individual.
As separate
items.
articles,
Thank you.
yes. Okay, we got our capital done.
I think that's basically it. No, it's just a matter of conversation and going through
Now we're gonna go through.
item by item.
Yes.
I've got a printout for everybody so we can keep track. You have it,
Yeah.
I've got an extra one I've got 3 for the budget committee.
Yeah, I feel like it's getting bigger.
There's been so much furniture moving lately.
I just like to scrape the floor, you know, make sure, get the asbestos up.
I made that first.
It's a Judy's. Take all this.
And you need someone to know how to do that. Oh, okay, that's You know,
I think it was learn that one.
If the board would like, I could read out the articles
and then we can vote.
so. Okay. Item A, administration, $172.56, sorry, $172,056. So a motion, if the motion were made and seconded, and the dollar amounts were agreed upon, I could fill right across the line, and then I could talk about, keep track of the vote, and we could get 3 other people monitoring this too. So I need a motion, if the board wishes, 172,056, and a second.
So moved.
Sorry.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
Okay. B, the airport, $90,769.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Animal control, 17,367.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Assessing, 6,778. I'll move that one.
Second.
All those in favor? Ben? Favor?
Sorry.
Sorry. Boards and committees, 2,843.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Capital improvement, do we have a total on that?
Capital improvement is 701,101.
701,101. How can it be that high?
How can it be that high?
That's not what we're spending on capital improvement.
I was just gonna ask if the number to reduce taxes.
Oh,
is
because
not-
300,000 is included in that, sorry.
So,
But, so it's
401.
401,101.
Wait a minute. We have to have separate articles for all of the capital. Yes,
Yes,
we
we
don't
do.
have just one article.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were gonna be when I made this up, so.
Okay, so let us go back. And
we
we
can call it after.
You want to do it after or now?
I think it'd be better to do it now. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
I didn't have one.
there aren't that many, there aren't that many.
All voted for.
yes, okay. We are going to have a motion for the debt service for the pier for $40,464.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. The backhoe debt, $22,237.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? The highway, road and sidewalk, $200,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Parks and Rec is $58,000.
I think those have to be listed separately too. each one of those
Oh,
items?
yes, we have to do it. I'm sorry, this is getting confusing.
So the HVAC study for 10,000?
Yes. We have the planning and engineering for 10,000.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? The lockers for 40,000.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? The lawnmower for 8,000.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? I'm sorry, I'm getting confused.
We were both anyway.
Okay.
Judy, can I ask just a question? Do we have to list everything out individually because of a state law or a town law?
Years ago, that is the way we've always done it, because that gives the taxpayer an opportunity, whether they might not want to spend their money on lawnmowers, and they might say no.
Okay, I was just curious.
That's
But for
something
the
that-
town, the town does, but that's not like,
No,
A
it's,
state law.
it's something that the Board of Selectmen have agreed upon year after year.
okay.
And the townspeople actually voted
Yes.
they wanted it then.
Okay, so, fire and EMS radio repeaters, 35,400.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Municipal building floor rehab, 45,000. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? There's your capital projects.
And we need one more article to take $300,000 from capital investments to lower taxes.
Yes, the 300,000 and the 157,
007.
157,007 or just 157?
157,007.
Okay. I'm gonna need a motion to, yes,
I'm just curious because that 15707 had been voted on already.
but we need their permission
To
to
read, okay.
put it towards taxes. Because they took that money for capital, and now if we want to use it for taxes, we have to ask the taxpayer permission to do so.
Two separate articles.
There'll be two separate
Okay.
articles on that one.
What is the 157 for?
That is unexpended capital. We're going to ask the town to be able to use that to put towards the taxes.
And the 300,000?
The 300,000 is going to be to reduce taxes.
The 300,000 is minus the 157,007. We're only putting a total of $300,000 towards taxes.
Okay. Okay.
So it might be better to do $300,000 to reduce taxes and the 157,007 to re-obligate it to other capital. How do you want to do that?
Well, I wonder if you can do an article which states the 300,000 towards the use of taxes with 157,000 of unexpended capital from previous years, which includes.
You could say something like utilizing
I
157.
think you could word it so that you could do it a total of,
Yeah.
including, I think you could do it that
As
way.
long as we understand that it's only 300,000 that's going to be reducing taxes, 157 is getting re-obligated to these other capital projects, or it's 157 plus 143,000 from reserves to reduce taxes.
But I see where you're going, but I really think for clarity and for, so everybody knows what's going on, that I think it needs to be two separate articles.
I agree with that, but I just want to make sure that one article isn't $300,000 to reduce
No.
taxes, and one article isn't 157 to reduce taxes.
I would say reallocate, because we raised that money last
Right.
year for stuff.
We were gonna reallocate the 157,000.
So it'll be 142,993 on the other article,
Okay.
right?
So we're gonna see this all again next Tuesday?
Yes,
Okay.
I hope.
Well, that's the way I would see it, is that it would be 142,993 from
From
the
the capital.
reserves to reduce taxes, and then 157,007 from unexpended capital to
Okay.
reduce taxes. So there's a total of 300,000.
All right.
I want to grab a motion now, so you don't have to worry about it next week.
Well, yeah, we're gonna do this all now. We need a motion to, have an article to, for the unexpended capital for 157,007.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Now we need an article for 142,993 from the reserve to be put towards taxes.
So moved.
All those in favor? That takes care of the capital portion, am I correct? Is there any way that once we get this all done, that we could have, before next Tuesday, the board get a copy
Oh, yeah.
of a draft?
Oh, yeah, that'll be,
So we could be able to look through it? I would appreciate it.
that's probably tomorrow's project. That'll be tomorrow's project.
I'm hoping tomorrow I can get it done.
Okay, let us go on. Now we're on to celebrations for 12,000. Let's celebrate it.
That's one area, oh, excuse me,
Yes.
that's one area we might be able to cut 1,000 out of.
No, Ben likes the 4th of July candy, we gotta keep that in there.
And I'll let you know.
Well, we budget, I mean, it's $9,000 for 4th of July and $3,000 for Christmas, and we've only spent $1,400, and I hope we aren't gonna spend any more for Christmas.
No, but they need 4th of July, comes out of that as well.
Well, that's
Well, I
what I'm
was
saying, it was a
gonna-
total of 12.
Christmas next year?
Well, no, I thought we were gonna make a motion, but I was gonna ask this question.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I'll move the 12,000.
And I'll second it.
My question was going to be, do we have enough money to replace the Christmas lights if we choose to do so? From what you just said, it sounds like.
it sounds like if you're gonna, yes, if you're gonna leave it at 12, because we only spent 10,000 this year.
Well, I mean, you've been here, it's an issue, if it's
I
coming
know
back. and
Christmas lights are an issue, yeah.
We've got the money, that's fine.
Okay. 12,000. All those in favor? 5-0. Cemeteries. This will be from the cemetery fund appropriation of 108,013.
I move that we accept the $108,013 for the cemeteries.
I'll second it.
And does this include some carryover for the fences that we didn't do this year?
No, there will be money left over, but this is to do just next year's budget.
And the fence is included in this.
There's part money this year for the fences and part money next year for the fences, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
so this article will read not to exceed or up to this amount because they would consider
Right.
that part of that. So that's
Not
what the
to
article
exceed
is written.
108.
Or up to, yeah.
Yes.
And I just want to understand the cemetery thing, that doesn't come from taxpayers, it
No.
comes from some other fund?
We have an endowment
Okay.
for that. Yes.
So if we're going to say not to exceed that, if there's carryover money that doesn't get expended this year, it can't be added to next year's?
It doesn't say not to exceed, it says up to.
Up to.
Because up to that amount of money, in other words.
Well,
Well,
that
we
is
have-
still not to exceed.
But we have a different article that allows us to carry forward.
And
money
carry
before it
forward
comes
money.
with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? The clerk, 90,381.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Code enforcement, 35,956. I'll move that one.
Second.
All those in favor? Community organizations, 62,865. The library is 57,250. Healthy Kids, 1,500. New Hope for Women, 1,515. Help Yourself Food Pantry, 1,000. Church of the Nazarene Food Pantry, 1,000, and the American Legion Flag Program, 600. Have we had any requests from Healthy Kids and New Hope for Women?
Yes.
We did?
Mhm.
Did we get anything from the library?
Yes. of
We
course.
did.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make it clear that we did.
And from the food pantries.
Okay.
I move the $62,865 for the community organizations, library, Healthy Kids, New Hope for Women, Help Yourself Food Pantry, Church of the Nazarene Food Pantry, and American Legion Flag Program. And should I have mentioned the amounts for each? I didn't.
Well, these are all gonna be separate articles anyway,
Okay.
correct?
They typically have been, I mean, that's the way it usually is.
And we usually make them separate articles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? The comprehensive plan, 20,000.
I just have one quick question.
Yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
So you took one vote on all of these, so on the
Yes.
warrant, the board recommendation on all 5 articles will say
Yes.
5-0, okay.
All articles will be 5-0, yes. Comprehensive plan, 20,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Contingency, 20,000. I'll move that one.
Second.
All those in favor? Contractual, 197,500.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Debt service, $243,234.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Elections, 19,185.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? EMS, 540,598.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, excuse me, yes, Bob?
I want to know, is the full-time additional person with the benefit package in this figure?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I explained the math thing. You're basically replacing 2 part-timers with overtime with a single person with benefits. Yes, there is additional cost at the beginning, but as Dennis has explained, we're losing transports, I won't say quite daily, and the transports are the ones that actually pay.
I was here when the part-time director was made full-time, and the town manager spun it as how he was gonna save all kinds of money, and this was gonna fix everything. And frankly, I don't think it did. And I don't think adding someone else is gonna do the same thing that adding the first one didn't do. And I don't think this is the time to be adding full-time people.
No, I do understand that. But the difficulty is the townspeople want full-time ambulance. And as it is now, very, very difficult, again, using part-timers, very difficult to fill the shifts. And almost on a daily basis, there's a shift that remains unfilled, which means there's not somebody there to answer a particular call or take a transport. And I'm not arguing with you, but I'm just saying we're beginning to get more routine calls because we've got a slightly better staffing situation, a slightly more stable staffing situation. So that's why, and I think the math works, and if it doesn't, people have 6-month probations.
Okay, any more questions? All those in favor of the 540,598? Opposed? Finance, 223,261.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? 5-0. Fire Department, 150,938. I'll move that one.
Second.
All those in favor? General Assistance, $25,071.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kathy.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm writing fast.
The general assistance,
Mhm.
what do you anticipate the balance will be in this, the end of the year?
I don't think we're 50% expended. She's got it right here.
Not quite.
Not quite 50%.
So you won't spend another 50% in the next 3 months?
I mean, the thing is with this, is you just never know, you know, I mean, like last year, we spent 98% of the budget for general assistance, and this year, you know, applicants are down, and, I mean,
Well, where I was going, last year, didn't we take the money for the food pantries out of general assistance?
not before you put on the warrant, we had done that before, based on a request, but last year it came out of, it was on the warrant.
It was on the warrant.
Mhm.
And one year, if I'm not mistaken, the year before that, we took it out of the general fund. I mean,
General
the
assistance, yes, yeah.
contingency, we took it out of contingency, if I'm not mistaken, one year. When we were asked. Yes, sir.
If it comes out of general assistance, do they then they get 70% of it back? So if you gave to the food pantry out of general assistance, you get 70%?
No, that's not reportable to the state.
All right.
Sorry.
Nice try.
Might
I'm
get
just
in
looking
trouble
to
for
save
that.
$2,000, that's all.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
I think it's reasonable to take a little off that.
Could you, what about 20,000?
We can try it. And it's one of those budgets you can overexpend and not get in trouble for. I'm just saying. you know.
Yeah.
So, if that helps, we can certainly try that.
Then, where is it here?
Okay, we have to rescind that motion. For the 25,071, if you're going to change the total.
Oh, I'm just gonna amend the motion to 20,000.
Okay,
Give 7% for that.
I'll second it. All those in favor of general assistance for 20,000? Municipal building, 79,141.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Municipal insurance, we have, first one is the property and casualty, 37,056.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Unemployment, 14,569. I'll move that one.
Second.
All those in favor? Workers' compensation, 149,518.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Is there a reason we separate those?
Retiree health, you kind of have to.
No, the municipal insurance is why do we separate property and casualty and unemployment and workers' comp? And
Have we done it in the
separate
past, separated them?
I think we've given the amount, but just listed them on the warrant. That's what we did last year, just the
So it's
amount.
one article.
So it's one article.
One article.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'll continue going. Retiree health insurance, 47,100.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Parks and Recreation, 790,288.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any way we could shave anything off of this one?
I'd like to ask, is the full-time position that was proposed still in this?
No. That's full-time, both full-time positions are out of here, correct?
There was only one that was added. There was not two.
I thought there was a full-time for the desk and one for programmer.
Not in the final, there was just one. But there, just to answer your question, there are no additional full-time positions added. Still currently have 2 full-time people other than myself, which is what we've always had.
That you yourself and who else?
And
Bob, just the
and
2 of you
you.
are full-time?
No, we have the aquatics director who has been full-time.
3 full-time?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
That's currently what's in this budget.
that's currently.
Well, you can calculate a rate increase and take a corresponding amount off the top, just like the wastewater.
I'm just thinking of maybe possibly reducing it 20,000.
She did reduce, If you look, she did reduce it
I realize that.
twice already, and 790,000 is less than what we paid last year.
Yes.
If you're looking for 20,000, if you do it as a $1 a month, yeah, it's $23,000, 23,000, yeah.
Well,
Rather than cut yourself.
I did take your advice and I raised rates $1 a
Per
month.
Yeah, that's what gets you to that.
We don't have monthly rates though. So you're saying raise it $12 for a yearly,
Yes, yeah.
okay. I am willing to raise those fees, and I sent something to John after the first budget meeting regarding that. I do believe it needs to be approved by the board. I was not here the last time membership fees were raised, but I was told that it needs to be approved by the board to raise those fees. I'm fine doing that. I just wanted to let the board know too that we're also raising program fees anywhere between 1% and 5% depending on the program.
And you'll be bringing that back to the board?
Bringing what?
I mean, the fee schedule? you're
The
doing?
membership fee schedule, I can
Okay.
bring that back to the board, but that would bring in probably an additional, if we were to raise it $1 a month, which would be an average of $12 per membership.
Okay,
So
all right, okay,
I can work on that.
all right.
It was always my plan to raise fees. We have minimum wage going up. It was
Right.
out, but what I had said at the beginning of the first budget meeting was that I didn't want to throw all of these program fees at our members, at participants all at once, because I don't want to price people out. So you have to walk that fine line. People are eventually going to say, well, I'm not going to sign up for anything because you keep raising the fees. So I have to be very careful about that. That's all.
Okay.
So would the board like Lisa to give maybe a low estimate of the extra revenue?
I don't know if I need to come up with I wouldn't feel comfortable throwing a number out to you right now.
Oh, no, not this minute.
Oh, okay.
Before next meeting.
We better have it now.
And just, can I add to, despite raising fees, I'm actually a little uncomfortable with this number right now, and I want to make sure that we can stay within this number. I really feel like I've cut this budget as much as I possibly can at this point in time. I can raise fees and maybe bring that revenue line up more, but I don't know if I can go take $20,000 off this right now. I don't know where I would take it from. Unless we start cutting programs. And then we're cutting revenue.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
We don't have a motion anyway right now, do we?
Yes, we do.
We're done.
And then, okay.
Kathy, the Kim factor.
Just to maybe oversimplify, but the budget submitted is less than last year. And the revenue is going to be lowish. I would just take it as increased revenues that we've been hoping for. And I'd approve that budget and take a close look on the revenues as they're coming in. That's probably my suggestion.
I just want to add to, with the numbers that are on the board, are up there right now, with 90,288, with the $440,000 in anticipated revenue, that leaves taxation amount of $350,000. That we'll be asking, which is $6,000 less than what we asked the taxpayers last year.
Okay, but that's with increasing fees, is that correct? Is that what you're
Yes.
anticipating, increasing fees?
However, this year I did put $450,000 in anticipated revenues. Next year it's $440, because I don't anticipate $450 coming in this year. So being realistic, we could exceed that. Last year we brought in 400 and, what did we bring in last year?
427.
It was 430 something.
437.
437.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, all right,
and when it comes to revenue, it's all a guessing game.
I realize that.
And last year, we didn't raise fees.
Unless you mean it written. So I won't speak.
Okay, right now we have a
You don't want me to-
motion for the $790,288. All those, in-
I am going to vote for the motion, but I'll repeat myself, I am concerned about the revenues that we project, because we have been wildly off all over the
that's
place.
my concern, is the revenues.
And I assume Tuesday night, when we do the full warrant, the revenues are gonna be on there, and we'll be discussing revenues at that point, the various accounts and stuff.
Well, as Lisa says, they are estimates. We're taking certain things on faith, but if you had a number that you felt comfortable with,
I can give some numbers based on raising membership fees. What an estimate would look like if we were to have the same number of memberships purchased next year that we have now. I can give that estimate for next Tuesday.
Okay, I'm just, because we're not at the end of the year.
I can also give increased program fees based on our numbers this year, participation numbers, of how much that could increase next year.
Because I do realize you make a lot of your revenue, like from now until school's out, because of the summer program. That's when you get a lot of the kids going into the summer program, which will help your revenue.
There'll be a bump, but as I explained to the board a couple weeks ago, the demographics have changed dramatically in this town. We have more seniors and older adults that are participating in that are members of our center and participating in programs than we do children. We have 21 children in our after-school program. We will be lucky if we have 50 children a week in our summer program, because there just aren't that many children in this town anymore. So, and that's why I explained at the first that I had lowered the lines under after-school staff, summer camp staff, because we just don't have that many kids to watch. So I don't need that much staff.
Okay.
So those revenues, I just don't want the board to be thinking that when summer comes along, we're gonna get all that revenue, because I don't know, I don't know how much it's gonna be. Last year was around 38,000 that we got in summer camp revenue. Okay?
Thank you. All right, right now we have a motion for the $790,288. All those in favor? Opposed? Planning, $28,700. I will move that.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? The police department, $435,541. So I'll second it. All those in favor? Okay, 5-0. School resource officer, $50,166. I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor? Public utilities, $275,314.
So,
I'll second. All those in favor? 5-0. Public Works, $656,600. Going to reduce that?
Not sure what the board wants on the split, and Ron does make a point on that. I'd probably, sorry, yeah.
We're talking, there was a difference of $25,000 we were looking to recoup. We've taken $5,000 out of general assistance, so does that mean we're really still looking for $20,000?
So can we go 10 to 10?
Or alternatively, you asked me to find that somewhere.
We've already got 5.
Out of general assistance.
well, didn't we earlier pass a motion on?
What was it? You mean on the split between the two departments? I think it was, you were talking 50-50.
Yeah.
Third.
Then he was saying 1/3, 2/3.
Yeah, and then we
Because of the
deducted that.
revenues.
Because of the revenues of the transfer. So 2/3 of it should come out of the public works.
So So 20,000 out of that and 10,000 out of the other.
Second.
Yes.
Do you still need, we were short $25,286. So do you want the full 30 or do you want just the 25,286?
We're not trying to balance anything here, we're just trying to reduce
Oh, I thought you were
taxes.
trying to balance with what we,
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
Sorry.
Well, let's take 20 out of public works and 10 out of transfer.
This is a motion on public works, that would be 636, 600.
Yes. Has there been a motion? I'll move that one. For the 636, 600.
Second.
All those in favor? Office of Selectmen, 27,162. I'll move that one.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, did you raise your hand?
No, I'm opposed.
Huh?
I'm opposed.
Okay.
I don't think we should get a salary.
If you would like, we can reduce it by $2,400 and you don't have to get paid.
Okay, let's go on.
Oh, I'm serious. She looked into us the other night for accepting these monies.
Yeah, I just think if we're tightening our belt, we've got people all over town who are volunteering dozens of hours per month to do great things for our town. And why shouldn't we?
And we can start with you.
No, it would be all of us.
Oh, then you lose.
No, I think the townspeople lose. I mean, we just took 5,000 out
Okay, all
of
right.
public assistance.
All right, let's stop the conversation, battling back and forth. Yes?
I was just gonna say, you know, I look at the rest of the selectmen, and when they come to a meeting here, it really doesn't have any impact on what they make. It does impact me, because I turned down a lot of work to come here. And I appreciated that the townspeople gave me something to do that. It was a token, if nothing more, but I do appreciate it.
And I agree with you, because I don't think the taxpayers realize how much time that the Board of Selectmen, as members, put in. It's not just coming here Tuesday nights. It's during the week, you're on call, you're getting emails back and forth, and.
Well, I don't get many emails, but
You
if
don't.
somebody wants me to look at something, I'd like to look at it.
I get plenty
The
of
other night,
phone calls.
Somebody was complaining about a culvert. I wouldn't look at it. I went down on the Chewonki Road, looked at that sign when somebody called up about it. I've never put a cent in for mileage. What time?
No, I agree with all of you. All my life, whether I've been on the board or not, I've always supported this account, the people who are here. They earn what they get.
I think so.
Well, my feeling is that if it was a volunteer position, then more people would get involved in it, because they would kill you to do this all the time, and you probably wouldn't volunteer like this off and on for decades. But if you were just doing it as a volunteer, you could suck it up for 2 years and get it done. I feel like democracy is strong because of the people who participate in it. And if everybody doesn't participate in our democracy, then what is it? But those are my just 2 cents.
Well, thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Senior Center, 14,397.
So move.
Second, all those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Shellfish, $6,003.
So move.
Second. All those in, I'm sorry, Bob?
Are we gonna address any changes there in revenue?
Well, as we look at all the fees, yes.
When we look at fees, you mean?
Well, when we take up revenue.
Right. To, for the licenses you're
Right.
talking about?
Or either that or selling more licenses to generate more money.
Okay. Who moved that?
Well, I guess the reason I asked was looking for an answer. If there's going to be a reflection of revenue, I'll vote for this. If it's not, I'm not going to.
Was there a second, by the way?
Yeah, yeah.
And, Bob is questioning the revenue as far as shellfish.
Yeah.
Well, when we discussed this at a previous meeting, when, within the last few months, I know it was discussed, and we talked about the definite possibility of raising the fees that they charge for whatever it is that they charge fees for. Whether it's the licenses, I guess perhaps the licenses and selling more licenses.
And I realize that's going to require an ordinance change, but if we don't do that on it, it'll never happen.
Because we have discussed about down on the Creamery here, changing the rates down there and the rates here.
Well, that'll be on HH Waterfront.
Yes. Okay, so we're at $6,003.
I just want to, like, when it comes to the shellfish, there is an ordinance, and this particular ordinance, I believe, has the fee set in the ordinance. So to change the shellfish
We have to
fee,
change
you're
the
gonna have to
ordinance,
change
yes.
the ordinance. Because I remember
Yes.
last year we talked about that. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a reminder that if they want to do that, they have to change the ordinance.
Yeah.
And the state regulates how many licenses the town has,
Okay.
I'll just take that as you know.
Yeah, well, it's a timing thing, as is the rental on the Greenbury Pier. I mean, there was a date where submissions had to be made, and that date has already gone. I think it was it April?
They mailed out in February.
You know, but yeah. So that's the difficulty, to look at all the deadlines for all the departments, and I didn't realize that this necessarily would have to go in front of the voters, which is fine. It just takes time. So it's all the revenues when we can put them on. And, I mean, we've got to get board has to approve the sewer rate increase and get that on the ballot, and so on and so forth. So I don't know when that revenue would start coming in, but as you know, it's a needed thing to do because the DEP consent agreement requires that money, but that's all I have to say.
Okay, we have a motion for the $6,003. All those in favor? Opposed? 1, okay. Transfer station, we're taking 10,000 out of that, 593,944.
So,
I mean, 53,944. Isn't that what I said? I'm getting tired.
She didn't tell.
Well, you're in big trouble.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen your motions here. 593,944. We took 10,000 out.
second.
Did you second it then?
Yes, 3 or 4 times.
I did. Okay, all those in favor? 5-0. Wastewater treatment plant, 751,736.
I'll second it, and I have a question.
So moved.
Yes, sir.
At the moment, with the rates we have, will that generate that kind of interest, that money, kind of money?
No, that's why, this is in
Well,
anticipation
can we
of-
appropriate money we don't have? I guess that's my question.
what? You're gonna be raising your rates.
At the present rates, we won't raise that kind of money the next year. That's my question.
Correct.
That's correct, but I have to have a budget so I can put it in until what the rates are gonna be, and then we have to adjust the rates, and we have to do that relatively quickly. Yeah.
I know, but that isn't the question I'm asking.
I know what you're asking. We're anticipating at this point in time.
And we have DEP in the background.
Oh,
But if we don't,
Consent agreements and all of that, I mean, we can't afford not to.
if we appropriate with the rates we have now, we're gonna have to go back when we raise the rates, correct? And change our figure, appropriation.
Yeah, if we, basically, by not putting in a high number for a rate increase, we'd be looking at, I got a warning figure on a fine, if this doesn't happen, and very quickly, it'll just get worse.
Yes,
I'm not exaggerating.
Denise could correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I hear Ben's question. I know what he's saying. But haven't we, year after year, appropriated a sum and then did not generate that amount of money and just
Oh,
simply
yeah.
balance? So it's been happening anyway. And yes, I would say last year, the appropriation figure was probably well above what we anticipated for revenue. And in the year before, it probably was, and the year before that. So the short answer to your question is, it's past practice to simply throw in that figure and then not worry about it.
And now we have.
And this
to-
doesn't,
Yeah.
and this does not affect our tax base.
It looks like it's not. Yes, it does. If we take that money out of fund balance, it does affect that tax rate because we have no fund balance left to use to offset taxes.
It comes out of the sewer fund balance, it does never come out of the general fund balance.
Oh, I didn't realize they had balance.
Yes, they have their own fund balance, they're their own separate fund, and no, they don't have much of a fund balance, you're correct. And it's getting littler and littler each year, especially given the fact that we've never budgeted depreciation. And we didn't budget a full depreciation this year, we budgeted 100,000 instead of 167 or 76,000.
167.
So I thank you for that. I stand corrected. There was enough money last year. It just was in their surplus from the year before. So I guess we did not appropriate a larger figure than what we had. Whether or not we do this year, I have no idea.
But doesn't the article that's in the town warrant, the way it's written, allows us to expend monies as they come in?
Not understanding your question.
Which article then, which are you?
Just the sewage treatment plant.
What we did last year's article, like we did?
Yeah, I guess that sounds like.
It's really no different than what we're doing with taxes. I mean, we're going to set a mill rate based on what we've raised and appropriated for operation of the town. We're going to set a budget for the sewer, and we need to adjust the rates to offset that expense.
30%.
I understand that,
Oh.
I'm just asking for putting the cart before the horse, I don't know the answer.
You gotta have a number to know even how much you need to increase your rates by. And we also know that we need to comply with at least the contingency and the capital reserve.
The
that we've
capital
not.
reserve particularly because that was, at 2% of, it was roughly 61,600. So to offset that a little bit, what I did is I've talked with Bernice about taking some of the impact fee money, which are usually used for capital projects, and shifted some of that in. And since there wasn't a capital line before, I had some projects that affect all the users because of what particular project it is at the plant, and I moved it from the contracted services to the capital. So to offset what would be quite a bit of money, probably 50, 60 grand, so.
And this budget includes 42.6 that we took from the impact fees
Right,
to
that was
reduce this
discussed.
already down to 30%, otherwise it would be higher.
But this number here includes the increase, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
The, 29.61% increase in sewer rates is
Yes.
included in this number.
Yes. And has the 42,600 that's been used from the impact fee to offset it as well.
Ben, do you have any more questions you want to discuss this further?
Does the DEP have a date when we have to have these rate increases in place?
No, we haven't even discussed that, but they know what that budget, what the budget proposal is, and a lot of the projects under that, including, part of that consent decree was to go back and look at the 2008 capital improvement plan, of which a significant number had never been accomplished at all. 11 years later, I would welcome all of you to come down for a field trip and just walk around that plant and see how many items, there's fire drills every day. it's outrageous, I'm telling you, it's tough to manage. Because some things are done so inefficiently because pumps are broken. We need to fix some of this stuff so that we can do what normal operations would be.
Rick, understand, I'm not disagreeing with you for a moment. To me, it's a good example of the poor management we've had the last few years. There's no excuse for that plant being the way it is. None, and I don't blame you for a moment, not for a moment.
No, I'm only saying the situation that we're in now, I don't care how it got created or anything else. I want to fix it, and I want the DEP to be happy, and I want you people to be happy. So not knowing what you would give me for a budget, I made up my budget and tried to work some things around, so, because there are many more needs than this current budget takes care of. And once I had that, I'd go back to main rural water and we'd get our rates, and then I'd come back and show you what that is. But until I got a budget that was approved, I didn't want to keep running scenarios back through main rural water.
Plus,
So,
if the voters don't pass this, the fines start almost immediately. And I got one more.
and I know some of the discussions here talk about planning for the future, so I'm looking at putting some budget stuff together for year 2 and year 3, because after your labor negotiations, you could be able to plug in a lot of that stuff. And some of the projects that I have in this budget will be, like I got a bunch of roofing that needs to be done. So those are kind of one-time things over the next 20 years. So that money frees up next year to do some of these other projects. So I'm trying to outline what we can address in the next 2 or 3 years.
But you feel by doing what you're doing now, will keep DEP at that bay?
I believe so. We've had some great discussions, and that they're, you know, we keep in contact, and they've been very helpful. And I think so far we have a good working relationship, but I need this money to accomplish a lot of the things that they're looking for that haven't been done for years.
I just don't want to pay any more fines, that's all.
No. Rick has put a lot of time in understanding what it is exactly the DEP wants, and like he said, he's developed an excellent relationship. And without that, I think they'd be even tougher and less patient. So give him credit for that, even though he'd like to have a lot more done, he'd like to have a lot more money to spend. But for now, I think that's reasonable. What's that?
I said, wouldn't we all
Oh,
like to have more money to spend?
If the rate increase is approved, will that hold us for a year or two? We're gonna have to have another rate increase next year?
I don't know right now, because that's why I want to see where the labor negotiations are, so that I can plug in what it looks like and what a baseline operating budget would be. And if I get some projects done, then I know the other projects that need to be done. The only thing I haven't really, I've evaluated the plant pretty much, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. I haven't done anything with the pump stations yet, and so hopefully come this summer, the guys will be jetting a lot of lines, and I'm gonna see if we have any money left over to camera some of the lines to see where some I&I is. But I want to do some pump down of wet wells to see the capacity of pumps as a quick and simple way to determine where some issues are. Because you can spend a lot of money in your pump stations. And just so you know, there is a pump station that had a lightning strike a number of years ago, which took out the computer part and the transducer, which was its primary way to function, and is only operating on the backup system of floats. So I have asked the vendor to find out what options we have to take care of that, because that's not a satisfactory condition for me.
Okay. All right, Ben, are you ready to go?
Well, we really don't have much choice, but, I mean, we kind of joke about it, but that's gonna be a staggering increase for a lot of people.
I agree.
But if we get fined, it'd be even more.
We don't have the money to pay the fine.
Judy, could I
Yes,
just
Bob.
make a comment? Everything that I think we've been discussing has not really been about the budget, it's been about the process. And I don't have a problem at all with your budget, and I don't really think that anyone else here does either. You know, my questions have only been about how we have gotten in the hole we're in and how we're achieving the figures to get out of it. So I don't have a problem with your budget at all. And I'm glad you've identified these problems. It sounded to me like you just mentioned a problem that our insurance probably would have covered years ago and probably won't now.
Right, and there's a couple other ones, but, and then I know there's always been discussions about revenue, so I have forwarded through the town manager information on your septic receiving rates, which are extremely low, and I've threw in some comparisons with surrounding communities, so what we charge now, particularly for septic waste for Wiscasset residents, that doesn't even cover the cost of us taking care of that, so.
Okay, I'm gonna move the, it's been moved and seconded?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, all those in favor of the 751,736? 5-0. Waterfront and harbors, 44,909. I'll second. Bob?
Yeah, on this one, is our revenue going to show some increases in fees?
As soon as I can get the process going and the appropriate approvals, again, on something like this, it's a seasonal thing, and if a month or two goes by, there's not much, so it may be next cycle, but
It
yeah.
sounded like we might have till February, but there is a February in the next budget cycle, and if we commit ourselves to increasing fees, then the revenue, when we
Right.
accept the revenue line, could include that.
Yeah, and, you know, like Lisa says, it's hard to estimate without, you know, there's a sensitivity in price, obviously, if you raise the price, we have to drive away some business. But yeah, that is one of the areas that, along with every other fee the town imposes, that we'll be looking at to pick an appropriate.
So it would show up in the revenue this year.
Yeah.
Good, I'll take that as a yes.
Okay, 44,909. All those in favor? 5-0. That's it. Any other questions from the board?
We are meeting Tuesday at 6, and we're gonna have finished warrant.
We're not adjourned yet.
We're gonna have the finished warrant to go over and sign, or make
Correct.
any last changes if we wish. I know, something can happen, but it'll be the same format, the capital improvements in one section, and so on and so forth.
Because what I'm saying is having, you know, a draft, because Ben and Bob don't have computers, could we have something
God.
in their boxes sometime tomorrow? Hopefully, and then you can email the rest of us.
Okay.
I do want to announce some changes in our meeting schedule. Bob is going to be on vacation, so we are not going to be meeting the 16th of April, but we will be meeting on the 23rd instead, at 6 o'clock.
You're not meeting on the 9th?
We're meeting on the 9th, but our regular selectmen meeting on the 16th will be on the 23rd instead.
Like Bob, I am interested to see the revenue article, see what those are going to be.
Right. Any other questions or comments or anything from the board?
Well, I'll think of them later.
Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for these.
You're welcome.
Thank you
The
for
snacks.
Thank you, guys.
Catherine, thank you for the snacks.
Yeah, thanks for bringing cheese, wasn't it?